Hello, everyone. My name is Adriana Flores, and I'm a third year student at Mercy University, and I'm also the spring 2024 intern at Sing Sing Prison Museum. For today's episode of Sing Sing Prison Museum, I'll be interviewing Andy Baker, who is the Director of Academic Partnership at Mercy University. Please enjoy the conversation him and I both had. All right, thank you, Andy Baker, for joining us today. Um, I would just like to start off if you can share a bit about your background and what led you to your current role.
Sure. Hi, Adriana, and thank you also for having me. And I'm excited to talk about the Sing Sing program and Mercy's role in it. My background is in adult non-traditional education at the college level and the pre-college level. I've worked with adult learners almost exclusively since I started uh, doing this as a full-time career in the mid 2000s, the aughts, and first really experience working with adult non-traditional students was at the College of New Rochelle, the School of New Resources of the College of New Rochelle, where I served as a instructional staff member and eventually held a bunch of different jobs there. Was a instructional staff, faculty, campus director eventually, and then with my former dean who retired uh, after about uh, maybe 6 or 7 years that I was there. She retired, and she had a very kind of specific burning desire to really help students, people who want to be college students but haven't completed the requirements. They're no longer, they've aged out of high school, and typically come from areas, neighborhoods that were academically underserved. They didn't finish high school for whatever reason, so they don't have a high school diploma. Um, and yet we had college campuses in their area, so we wanted to be able to bring them in. So we created a program, my dean and I, uh, for adults who had not finished high school, and we persuaded the College of New Rochelle to support that program financially, so that we could basically um, work with adults who were, determined to be college directed or college leaning, so that they could have the credential needed to start college and also to receive TAP and Pell to do so. So that was my experience there, and also working as a campus director at a variety of campuses for the School of New Resources. And then that program, School of New Resources, was eventually acquired by Mercy University, or Mercy College at the time, in 2019. And I came over with that program and helped in the teach out as we taught out students of the School of New Resources, about 600 students.
Mhm. Um, and what educational programs, for those who are listening and don't know, what is offered through this partnership with Mercy University and Sing Sing Correctional Facility?
Yeah, so the partnership with Mercy and Sing Sing, uh, academic offerings at the current time are the program is designed, students can earn an associate degree in arts and associates of arts and sciences, and then they can go on and earn a bachelor's degree in specifically in behavioral sciences, that specific major. And I would say most students who complete the associates go on to complete the bachelor's as well.
Yeah, that's great. So, what started the initial inspiration of the collaboration between Mercy University and Sing Sing Correctional Facility?
Yeah, well, the initial inspiration was mission driven, I'm certain. A central component of Mercy's mission has always been, transformation through education, transforming lives through education. And so, what better way to express that belief than to literally walk the walk, as it were, by providing access to an essentially unserved population who also happens to be in your own backyard. And uh, when you then think about how the partnership aligns with Mercy University's mission and values, of course, there is that point about transformation, which is kind of a broad thematic, but then there are also specific aspects to Mercy's current mission. We're a Hispanic serving, minority serving institution, and this program is serves, I want to say it's close to 85% students are Hispanic or Black.
And what do you find the most fulfilling um, at work?
Well, a lot of what my office does revolves around breaking down barriers for these students, and this often means reshaping internal operational perceptions of who this cohort is, what their needs are, and I find that we have to sort of nudge those perceptions often for the purpose of improving and streamlining certain types of functions or requirements that are part of the regular sort of bureaucracy of running a college, if you will. So this means, improving certain functions. It also means at times dispensing with functions that are not either relevant or requirements that unnecessarily hold this particular student group back. Uh, that is often what I find myself doing. And I can give you, it gets very wonky and it gets really into the weeds of you know, uh, how we code students and how they come in, their matric or non-matric status, matriculation status. But all of those things really do affect the student's academic journey and can have a deleterious effect on it if it's not done properly, if it's not done with an eye towards understanding who the student population is. And so I would say that that part of it, breaking down those barriers and improving the systems that support the students, it's the hardest part of the work for me. It can often be the most frustrating, but it also has the most direct impact and is the most fulfilling part of the job.
Yeah, I know you briefly mentioned breaking down the barriers, but what are other challenges faced
Mm.
directly in providing education to incarcerated individuals, and how are they addressed?
The big one, the ones that I see, it's almost obvious, but it's that lack of access to both real world and virtual world academic resources. There are restrictions put on the student the the students' lives inside of in an incarcerated environment, and so this impacts physically. And when I talk about sort of physical real world, I'm talking about tight physical environment, full classrooms, not a lot of classrooms. Um, an environment with not modern furniture, not what you would see at a college, regular college campus furniture. It can be sweltering in the summer. So you have those physical limitations that sometimes I think we may take for granted in the outside world. Sorry for using the term outside world, but in the world that's not a world like Sing Sing. And but you also have this very limited access to printed materials and academic database materials. So as a college student, right, you depend on you are able to call up JSTOR to go into JSTOR and call up research evidence for whatever projects you're working on, and it's there and available for you right away. Well, students in this program don't have that kind of access. There's some, and we're working to get more for them, but that is where the corrections comes in. The Department of Corrections has some very sort of bold lines that we can't cross. That rules about what can and cannot be accessed by students, and they are generally not able to freely use digital resources to support their academic work. So that then puts the onus on uh, individuals in the program, the teachers, and program directors or partnership directors, to make sure that we are supplying that, we're filling that gap. Being a bridge to information as best we can, while at the same time we advocate for changes to increase that kind of access.
I know it's been proven like having education in prison is very important. How does this partnership contribute to rehabilitation and reintegration efforts for incarcerated individuals?
Well, um, now I would say it's safe to say, by the way, I don't think I actually mentioned by name up to this point that we have a very important partnership and partner in delivering academic college programming within Sing Sing, and that is our partnership with Hudson Link for Higher Education, who are they're the group that goes in. They're a nonprofit group based in Ossining, that handle all of the details of being in the physical environment at Sing Sing. The clearances for the faculty, making sure that the classes, the scheduling. They are our sort of facilitator of all aspects of this program. But what Hudson Link also does is work with students who go home. That's the argot. That's the terminology they use when a person is no longer leaves the incarcerated environment. They're released. They call them. They say that's going home. So students who uh, upon leaving, when they go home, they may not have finished their degree while they were inside, right? And yet, leaving this environment and re-entering the non-incarcerated world, it carries with it all sorts of adjustments and transitional challenges. And so Hudson Link is there to provide all sorts of supports in terms of um, uh, job skills training, interview training, housing, um, uh, uh, everything, including like wardrobe, and even, but also to be a bridge for students. They're there to help the student who hasn't finished when they're ready, and it's often not right away. But to make sure, if that person who has gone home, who is an alumni of their program inside Sing Sing, wants to finish, that they're supporting them in that as well. And so now my office has recently created certain activities and functions that we do to support Hudson Link's Finish Line program, their efforts. And it basically centers around providing a kind of unofficial academic advisement role to the person who's gone home. They're not. It may be a semester or two before they restart in order to finish their degree, but we're reaching out and supporting them and looking at their academic records so far, and providing a menu of choices. Let's say that once the time comes, once you're ready, and all your paperwork, the financial aid part of it is squared away, and it's time to restart. Here's what you need to get done. Here's the suggestions for completion in terms of courses, and basically just sort of keeping a relationship going with that student who's not finished, who's come out, so that they are Mercy graduates at some point. And part of the function of is just a sort of a reality. It's like when you stop being a student in a place, if especially in a situation like this, where our Sing Sing students are coded as being in Sing Sing. Well, when they leave, there is no mechanism that changes that coding. We have to make sure that it is somehow acknowledged that, okay, this person is out now. And if it's not acknowledged systematically, then that student is not going to be assigned a PACT advisor. So they don't, we have to kind of play that in between role to make sure we just literally don't lose track of these students, because it would be very easy to do so. So I think that is our role in contributing to the reintegration of these formerly incarcerated individuals.
Thank you. Hudson Link sounds incredible in their
Yeah.
work they're doing.
Mhm.
My final question is, what are your hopes for the future of education in correctional settings, and how do you envision the partnership between Mercy University and Sing Sing Correctional Facility evolving to meet these goals?
Yeah, so my hopes are for a broadening and lengthening of engagement at all levels of this experiment. From the federal level on down, and from the provider to the recipient, and back, and vice versa. If I think if your lens, no matter where if you're involved in this somehow, either in it as a student, or as an administrator, or as a politician who makes decisions around budgets and allocation to services, whoever you are, if your lens is calibrated intelligently, um, you know that this is just good economics. If nothing else, this is good. It's good business. But beyond that, because the research and the literature and the statistics prove it's good business. The more college level experience and activity that an incarcerated individual takes in their time in a facility, the lower the rate of recidivism is for the individual and as a kind of as a whole. That's been proven. We know that. So it's good. It makes for a safer society. It makes for it transforms individuals' lives, and it's just morally right. So my hope is that when I say broadening of engagement, I mean increasing the numbers who are served, the actual number of students we can serve, and then also a lengthening of it, or the breadth, if you will, meaning more college level programs. And at advanced levels, like masters, of course, there should be more masters programs, postgraduate programs, but why not at the doctoral level too? Why shouldn't there be a PhD? Why can't there be a PhD program at Sing Sing for the student who's never leaving? Uh, uh, and there are more. There's enough. I think that you could have a small cohort if you had, if and the interest would be there. It's something. By the way, I know I am like oversharing or spinning off on tangents here, but an interesting thing happened recently when we were talking to some students, and one of them was mentioning how he was somebody who is not leaving the prison. He's never going to leave, and he made the very relevant point that, okay, in my case, the fact that I'm not going to leave doesn't make for a safer society for you, for the individual on the outside, right? But I am in contact on a daily basis with X number of new people who come into prison, and I play a mentorship role, and what I say and do, it influences younger gentlemen who are at a kind of vulnerable crossroads, and he sees himself as somebody who makes a difference in helping people at that delicate stage make the right decision. And so I think you could make a case for continued education beyond the bachelor's level, um, and it's something that I would like to see. Personally, I think it would be really beneficial. So those are some ideas that I had about my hopes for the future of education in correctional settings. Let me say one other thing. Um, it does appear, so we happen to be in a state that's very forward leaning, and out ahead of the curve, I think, in terms of prison education programming. It's us in California. We are kind of in the nation. We are sort of at the vanguard and in the right place. And I think there's evidence that this is influencing what other states do as well. And so I just hope that that continues. The Department of Corrections in the state of New York, it's there is definitely a forward-thinking contingent or core within that department that sees the value in this, that sees the value in prison education programming, and that is doing everything it can to make that possible, while at the same time being in compliance with all of the safety and correctional regulations that exist. So that's my feeling on the future.
Yeah, I agree. Like even post, like after bachelor's, I haven't even taken that into consideration. Where really programs just offer bachelor's, and for them to say like them being a mentor. So thank
Right.
you for including
Yeah.
that story.
You're exactly right, and also there's a lot of pre-college programming that happens in prisons. There's GED programs, pre-GED programs, and those are great, and they need to continue. But why not? Let's also put emphasis on that continuation, that academic journey. College New Rochelle's motto used to be, what their motto was, lifelong learning. And if you're a lifelong learner, then you are going to grow into a mentor and into a person that has a positive effect on younger people. So it just kind of makes sense.
And that's a great way to end today's interview. Thank you, Andy Baker, for allowing me to interview you.
Thank you, Adriana. Appreciate it.
Thank you.